Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Retro Devils, the Manchester United history podcast. This is the second full episode of our Team of the 90s series, where you, the listeners, are picking the best players from the 1990s that have played for Manchester United. Let's get into it. Hit that intro music. My name is John. I've been a United fan since the early to mid-90s, and really with this series it's a lot of self-indulgence. We're really going back to my wheelhouse, peak nostalgia, my bread and butter, United in the 90s. This Team of the 90s series, the team is picked by you, the listener to this podcast. The voting is held in our Facebook group, which I've linked down in the show notes. We've already picked the goalkeeper, which was, unsurprisingly, Peter Schmeichel. Didn't think there was going to be much of a contest in that one. And today we're picking the right back. Now, the winner probably won't come as too much of a shock, but one of the selections, one of the players who did receive votes, will come as a little bit of a surprise. Before that though, we should probably mention all of the players who didn't make the cut, didn't get any votes in our poll whatsoever. We've got Viv Anderson, Mick Duxbury, Derek Brazil, John O'Kane, Phil Neville, John Curtis, Mike Clegg, and Wes Brown. So, unfortunately, those players didn't receive any votes in this poll, but we'll move on to the ones who did, and we'll start with the biggest surprise of them all. You can really blame my sister Kirsten for this one. She's a Blackburn Rovers fan, and voted for a player we signed from Blackburn, mostly as centre-half cover, but he did play a fair bit of his career at right-back, especially in that Blackburn side, not so much at United, although he did cover a few games there. I'm talking, of course, about Henning Berg. Who would have thunk it? So as I said, he was mostly seen as a centre-half at United, although he did play right-back earlier in his career and covered that position in red from time to time. He's also listed as a right back on Transfermarkt, which is where I get all of the squad info for this series from, just to keep it consistent. So if you have any issues with that classification, take it up with them, not with me. Cool. Berg signed from Blackburn in July of 1997 for the surprisingly large sum of £5 million. It was the record fee paid by a British club for a defender at the time, with joint equal, and it was a fairly hefty outlay for, a reasonable centre-half at the time. Also joining United that summer were his compatriot, the young striker Eric Nevland, Teddy Sheringham, and a young Jonathan Greening came into the team as well, following United's back-to-back league titles in 1996 and 97. Berg played 27 games in that first season, so not too bad, out of 103 total games for United over the course of his career here. I say mostly as a centre-back, occasionally covering right-back. He returned to Blackburn in September of the year 2000, having won 2 league titles, an FA Cup, 1 Champions League, and the Intercontinental Cup. Of course, he was part of that famous treble when inside. And during the course of his time at United, he also became the first player to win the league title with 2 different clubs. Nobody else had done it prior to that, and now there's been a bunch of them, but for a while he held that record. So yeah, fairly decent player at United, decent record with the club, but top right back of the 90s? Probably not, but I don't make the rules, I don't pick the team, you do, so here we are, Henning Berg. Joining Berg at second equal position in our vote, someone I thought would actually do a bit better in this poll than he did, is the one and only Paul Parker. He joined United as a specialist fullback back in 1991 and went on to win the League Cup in his first season in 91-92. So pretty decent start to his career at United. The following season got even better when he played a vital role in the team which won the first ever Premier League in 1993 Of course, that was United's first league title in 26 years, so it was a huge moment for the club, and he played a pivotal role in that. The next year went a step further, winning the league and cup double, so he definitely started life incredibly successfully at United, winning the league and FA Cup in his third season. But from there, things started to go downhill a little bit. He missed most of the 94-95 season with injuries and lost his place in the side to someone that we'll come on to shortly, and even once he regained full fitness, he wasn't able to displace that player and regain his place in the starting lineup on a regular basis. Although United won the double again in 95-96, he didn't receive a league winners medal because he didn't play enough games in the league campaign that year, and also he missed the squad for the FA Cup final, so didn't get a medal for winning that either, unfortunately, even though he was still a squad member. He was released by United at the end of that 95-96 double winning campaign and went to Derby County, but then moved on after he couldn't establish himself in the team there. Kind of rattled around a little bit at Sheffield United and then Fulham, before he surprisingly popped up at Chelsea in early 1997 to help them out during an injury crisis that they were going through. He went on to have a bit of a management and then a media career after his playing days came to an end, and nowadays he's one of the hosts of the Talking Devils podcast alongside our friend Wayne Barton, who was the guest on our previous episode of Retro Devils, talking about the Manchester United number 7 shirt. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and have a listen. I've linked it down in the show notes down below. Should be easy enough to find. So yeah, Paul Parker joining Heddingberg as second equal in United's greatest right-backs of the 1990s. And that, of course, brings us now on to our winner, number 1 right-back of the 90s. And this will come as absolutely no surprise to anyone listening or anybody watching this on the YouTube. So, as a surprise to absolutely nobody, the winner of this poll and taking the spot of right back in your Retro Devils Manchester United team of the 90s is none other than Gary Neville. And who else was it really going to be? Neville came through the United Academy famously as part of the class of 92 alongside David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs. His brother Phil is included in that, but he was a year later in the youth team. And everybody is well aware of that fact in that group, but many forget that Gary Neville was actually the captain of that FA Cup winning side from 1992. So he was already in a kind of leadership position and came into the side with a good reputation. It was reflected in the fact he got his senior debut really early in September 1992 in a UEFA Cup game against Torpedo Moscow. Neville became established as the first choice right back at United in 94-95 while Paul Parker was out injured, and he remained as that until the end of his career and his retirement in 2011, giving him an almost 20-year career at right back in the red shirt. He was well known for his overlapping runs and his crossing ability, particularly from deep, and developed a really, really good partnership with David Beckham down the right flank for United through the 90s and into the early 2000s. He got plenty of assists as a result, although only scored 7 goals for the club. In defence, he was aggressive, he was determined, he was incredibly hard-working, vocal, reliable, authoritative, and busy and annoying is the way that most of his fellow teammates would describe him. So very much a presence around the squad, and someone who wasn't afraid to speak his mind and get his points across. In late 2005, he was appointed as club captain following the departure of Roy Keane from the team. Although shortly afterwards he found himself in a bit of hot water following a passionate celebration at Old Trafford following Rio Ferdinand's late-headed winner against Liverpool in January 2006. This was, of course, the incident where Neville ran a decent length across the pitch to celebrate, screaming, shouting and kissing the badge in front of the Liverpool fans at Old Trafford. He got himself a £5,000 fine as a result, but that's okay, because Gary Neville is a Red and he hates Scousers. Unfortunately, he was injured for most of the 2007-08 season, where he was ably replaced in the squad by Wes Brown, and although he made his return to the side in the spring, in the Champions League quarter-final, receiving a standing ovation as he did, he missed out on that Champions League final squad, and so after victory over Chelsea in Moscow, the trophy was lifted by Rio Ferdinand and Ryan Giggs, who'd stood in for captaincy duties during Neville's absence. Although he did still receive a medal for playing part in the competition that season, and also got his league winner medal too. He stepped down as team captain in 2010 in favour of more regular starters. He was starting to realise his capabilities were waning by this point, and his final game came later on that season away at West Brom. And seemingly he had a bit of a revelation while on the toilet at half-time in this match and realised there and then that his career was finished, and he retired more or less on the spot. In total, Neville won 8 Premier League titles, 3 FA Cups, 2 Champions Leagues, 2 League Cups, 1 Intercontinental Cup, and 1 FIFA Club World Cup. A bona fide United legend, one of the best players the club has ever had. He's also the most capped England right-back of all time, with 85 caps gained from 1995 to 2007, and played in 5 major tournaments internationally. Sir Alex Ferguson described him as the best English right-back of his generation, and I don't think anybody could fairly dispute that call. So Gary Neville isn't just United's best right-back of the 90s, or England's best right-back of the 90s. He is arguably the best of all time for both club and country. He's very much a solid and sensible, unexpected choice for this position. It's quite fitting, I think, given his personality. So he takes the number 2 shirt in this Retro Devils team of the 90s, picked by you, the listeners, slotting in there alongside Peter Schmeichel. So we're off to a fairly solid start in our team. Les Sealey is so far the only player guaranteed a spot on the bench as the substitute goalkeeper. We will be picking a sub fullback as well. I don't suppose it'll be Berg or Parker, although we never know. Can't be sure as yet. The next position up for voting for this team will be left back. So if you thought goalkeeper and right back were foregone conclusions, I think we've maybe got another one coming up. But who knows? It's up to you, the listeners. Voting is open now in the Retro Devils Facebook group. The link is down there in the show notes if you want to click onto that and have your say for who you think the best left back of the 1990s at Manchester United was. I deliberately left one of the options for right back out of the poll, somebody who mostly covered that position. He will definitely be included in the left back vote. And basically the only reason I left him out of this one is because I didn't want him winning both positions, because that would knock him out of left back contention. Can't be in the same team twice. So if again you've got an issue with that, that's fine. Deal with it. And the winner of that will be revealed in episode 10 of Retro Devils in a few weeks' time. But yeah, voting open now. Click on over to that Facebook group. Join it, join the discussion. We're trying to create a bit of a community of like-minded Man United fans who want to remember the glory days of the 90s and beyond. Anything over 10 years old, we're into Louis van Gaal era now. As eligible for discussion at Retro Devils. So if you want to chat about anything United history, head on over to our Facebook group. That's the place to do it. But yes, thank you very much for watching, for listening. I am John from Retro Devils. This has been the Manchester United History Podcast, a Team of the 90s series. Welcome Gary Neville to the team as our right back. Thank you very much, and I will chat to you again soon. Cheers for now.